Hello and welcome to your combined reading, Jesse and Haley style.
What's up? Hello, hello. So thank you and great job on your very, very timely order. You literally ordered like last night and Haley leaves tonight. So
Yeah, thank you for supporting us by purchasing a reading. Can't wait to dive into your chart. We love working together, and we have your 2 questions as well that we were just talking about before this. So we'll make sure to get into those as well.
yeah, thank you a lot. So let's go ahead and do a little mini share screenage. So yeah, we just finished our first one. It was like super, super fire. So we're about to bring that same energy.
Do you want to confirm her birthday?
Um,
Her birthday.
yeah. Hey. May
Your name is very pretty, Heather Ambrose.
Yeah. Wait, is that the right? Oh, okay, yeah. Never mind. Hold up. Okay, yeah, that's the correct time. But
Oh, well, we can cut that part out. I can edit it. If you want to restart?
Yeah, let's restart. Just because I know this one will be fire.
Sorry, I don't post mine to you.
Yeah, it's just the best advertising. Okay, so we're good though. Okay. We'll just say we
Well, I
have
also didn't use her name. I didn't know her name until you pulled it up, so it's probably better. So we can,
yeah.
well, I'll say Heather. Heather's fine, right?
Just say just say Heather, because there's lots of Heathers or just, what's up, H? Heather. We'll just call you Heather, code name. Wait, why am I sharing already? We just had like a little false start. So thank you so much for purchasing the reading. You got in the last second. Literally like Haley leaves tonight and you got it last night. So that's pretty wild. Synchronicity.
Yes, thank you for supporting us by purchasing a reading. We're super excited to dive into your chart, and we have your 2 questions that you asked about, so we're going to dive into that as well. So
Yes. All right, so let's do a little share screenage. It's kind of trippy because we just did like a false start where we had to like redo it and we just did the exact same stuff. So it's like an actual deja vu. Okay, so here we are. So we'll go back and forth between seeing us fully in this. I know you're gonna love that 0-degree retrograde Venus, and
Sun conjunct Juno.
we can pull up the questions, which first one was about um past life gifts, kind of leaning into spiritual and past life gifts, kind of that career, moving in that direction, stuff around that. And the second one was about, I would say, it's about love needs. I mean, ultimately, yeah, you are going through a divorce, on, which I would like to, like first, like, I just want to congratulate you, even though if that might be a little controversial. I think that if it wasn't working, it's for the better of both of you. And I know it's a big transitory time, but if it happened on a new moon eclipse, then you know that there was a lot of karma involved, right? And it was meant to be. So yeah, we'll touch on everything.
Can I touch on the Juno conjunct Sun in the 12th house? Because I think that relates to the second question.
Get on.
All right. So right away, I'm seeing that you are a Sun conjunct Juno native. Very, very, very close too. So your Sun is at 2 degrees Gemini when you were born, right? So just dipping into the consciousness of Gemini. And then your Juno is also at 2 degrees, both at Taurus degrees. They're only 3 minutes away.
Yeah, that's like literally like you see it,
It's
right?
basically like on top of each other.
0.02, 0.39, 0.42. Crazy shit.
And what's funny about this is that right away, I mean, it was the first thing that I saw, but I also have this placement, and Juno is the asteroid of marriage, commitment, contracts. as well as just overall being able to run a kingdom. So Juno is the Roman equivalent of the Greek goddess Hera, who co-ruled Olympia, all of the gods and goddesses, alongside her divine counterpart Zeus. And a little bit about the mythology that's so near and dear to my heart, with also being a Sun conjunct Juno native, is that Juno is all about union, right? And there's this inner union with the self that is usually accompanied on this journey. But there's also, especially with the twins, right? So you have the side of the twins. So I feel like there's two sides to you already, right? The side of you that is a special Gemini trait, which is being able to relate to all walks of life and hear every single person's perspective. That's one side. And then there's your own opinions and what you've learned as the student. So I feel like the harmonization of those two, using what you know throughout experience and learning all the time, especially with it in the Mercury Deacon of Gemini. But with Juno, so I'll say Hera. So Hera was married to Zeus, right? And they co-ruled together. And Hera was great at taking care of the kingdom. She was great with the people. She takes a lot to run a kingdom, right? It's queen energy. But one of the shadow sides of Juno in general, everyone has a Juno placement. And those who have a large Juno signature may relate to the mythology in some way, shape, or form, depending on where you're at. She experienced a lot of infidelity with Zeus, right? So Zeus slept with mortals, titans, other goddesses, right? And one of the shadow aspects was that she would actually punish the children of that came from the infidelity, and she would punish the women, right? Until Juno slash Hera, she went into her light side and decided to officially divorce Zeus, right? And she became sovereign in her own energy, and she went on to marry Venus. And they were the first two lesbians or same-sex couple in Olympia. I believe it was lesbian specifically. But she literally ended up finding Venus, who represented what love was. And Juno is very powerful commitment. Juno is the daughter of Saturn, who is also represents commitment and discipline. So I feel like you're a very committed person to yourself in relationships. And with this in the 12th house, I could definitely say that I feel like past life marriages could have came through in this lifetime. And I believe that.
What do you mean could have came through? Oh, manifested. Okay.
Yeah, like manifested in this lifetime for you to be able to clear any subconscious storylines, fears, or patterns that wanted to be liberated out into the open with marriage. So marriage in general is a huge topic, and you are a really, really because Juno represents marriage material. So others very much could see you as marriage material, somebody that they would really love to have as their spouse and their counterpart. So yeah, that's my take on Venus conjunct Sun. But I also have this, so it's pretty cool.
Juno conjunct Sun.
Juno conjunct Sun.
It's super interesting. Wow. Yeah. I was looking at something that I found I know you're gonna love. So she has an exact Sun square Moon, but she has also Sun square Black Lilith. So we have our two readings have our last one had Black Lilith right on the exact on the ascendant, and you have it in essentially an exact square. I mean, 1 degree away from the Sun. But yeah, I wanna talk about yeah. So like would you say like that the Juno on the Sun would give a flavor of, I think of Juno as well, like a Virgo kind of lovey Libra, not Libra, Libra Cancer. A little bit, not Virgo. Virgo's more like series, right? Yeah,
like Libra Cancer,
lover kind of.
Oh yeah, like you just know what it takes to be in a committed partnership. You know what it takes to be in a union with somebody else. You have the loyalty, you have the carrying your part, running a kingdom for sure as well. Loyalty. I would also say too, with the 12th house, And if this resonates too, if you get chills at all, like throughout the reading or anything like that, it's definitely a sign of confirmation. But with 12th house Junos, I tell people with retrograded Venuses, retrograded Junos, 12th house Venus or Juno, there could definitely be the soul being drawn to getting married earlier on, to like clear a karmic contract with a lover to then allow something that maybe never fully got to manifest in a previous lifetime to be able to come through. So that could be a sign of having more than one legal marriage or one major union in this lifetime. So
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Especially with Uranus in the 7th house too. Uranus can bring divine intervention and sudden endings and new beginnings, divine redirection. So that's also could be a sign too of in this lifetime having more than one legal marriage.
Yeah, there's lots of interesting energy around love. Because yeah, it's you see, yeah, because you're born in what, 88. So yeah, you have like the three Saturn, Uranus, Neptune all together, and you see how they fall like very close to your descendant, 7th house cusp. Neptune's the closest, Uranus also, in 7th, 0 degrees.
Yeah, so, you are the epitome.
So there's, but it's an exact opposition with the retrograde Venus. So that is actually like exactly what you were saying. You see, like that's literally like that is exactly. And also retrograde Venus sometimes can be like, is there any aspects opposite Saturn? Well, I mean, besides that, yeah, opposite Saturn. Yeah, so there's lots of energy around that. We'll get into that. He will definitely talk about like the 0 degree involvement and whatnot. And there's also look at 0 degree Mars. Like there's 0 everywhere. So this is why we need to do these together, because like yeah, there's so much 0. So yeah, but anyways, like, so what I want to start, what I want to talk about right now is yeah, we understand your sun, Gemini. I don't really feel like the need like to go into what it means to be a Gemini. 12th house sun though, right? Very interesting. And the big thing here is this exact the degrees square of sun and moon. That is perhaps the biggest I mean, like, there's no, even the outer planets, there's no bigger aspect in astrology than sun opposite or sun square sun conjunct moon. I mean, think about it, obviously, right? I mean, it is literally like you were born exactly at a let's see, it was the first quarter moon. Yeah, at a first quarter moon, right? Yeah, at a first quarter moon. So that speaks to in this karmic cycle, you have a very, so it's two Mercury ruled planets, right? I've done a chart like this before, so it's very interesting, right? And the south node's involved too, right? We see the south node here in Gemini or in Virgo. So this square between sun and moon, typically, and I think I'm probably batting like 95%, 90% on this, represents, if not a divorce between the parents who had very, very different ideologies and worldviews. Like I had like a client from Dubai who was one of the rare ones who I have sun square moon. My parents are divorced, right? My brother has sun opposite moon, and a million clients. But I had one from Dubai. She had it, and she's like, they're in a silent divorce, which is like a Arabic thing where divorce because of societal whatever. But like, anyways, the point is this: sun and moon square means that there's two. I have this, like I said, so I know this shit. There's two parts of you that are very, very different, and one part comes from mom, one part comes from dad. So one exercise you can do, I did this in my book, Pisces Living Lives, is on Amazon, is to do a creative writing exercise of like what the biggest lessons you got from mom and from dad is. You'll see, to me, it was unbelievable. I had no idea. It was all, I was like, wow, like, so like I did not realize like it was crazy, right? But basically, there's a conflict, or not a conflict, there is a tension between the two. they have very different needs, right? One is Gemini. It is very active. We know it is very social. It wants to do things in a way that it's very curious. In the 12th house, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but maybe it likes to lose itself, especially when it comes to spirituality and 12th house sun. There could be like an entire reading. There's books about the 12th house. It's so interesting, and we'll get into that. But basically, just with the overall energy, is that the moon in Virgo can be very we just had a Virgo moon, so back to back. It's a moon sign that can be difficult to have. It can, a lot of people with that, it's common. Obviously, like there's a high, medium, low manifestation of everything, right? Now with the moon in Virgo, a lot of people can have anxiety issues and overthinking and intellectualizing of the emotions. That's common, right? It's not saying that's happening, but sometimes people with that, they don't really want to feel the emotions, right? And they'd rather just talk about them because it's Mercury ruled moon. So they feel more comfortable doing that. So it's important to lean into the opposite sign of Virgo, which is Pisces, which is about feeling, which is about feeling the energy of emotions, right? But with that said, people that have Sun Square Moon are fucking powerhouses. You're looking at one, I'm just joking. But like, it gives you that edge, you just have that edge. A lot of times, like, you feel like, this isn't like me saying this is just like from experience with clients and just overall, people with that, a lot of times they feel as though like no one really truly believes in like their dreams, and they have this chip on their shoulder, like they want to prove them wrong, and they want to live a life that's not like mom and it's not like dad. So what would you say, like Virgo, Gemini, like earth, air, so different. How do you feel both mouths?
Right. I think kind of looking at the commonalities actually a little bit. Like one thing is that, like, if you look at where they both are, they both share the Mercury decan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So communication, one is through discernment and groundedness, right? Virgo. And then one is through Gemini, Gemini is the messenger of the zodiac, right? All the greatest rappers, Gemini placements, right? A lot of them. And
says X squares.
right? Or even Aquarius too is known as the messenger. But and then we also have as a commonality the mutable signs, right? So mutable energy, some of my favorite, right? It's some of the most likable too. It's not in your face, it's not very stubborn, it's very, very fluid, go with the flow, open-mindedness, and like they're great listeners too. I feel like you're a really great listener, while still being able to grasp what everyone's saying and then be able to relay your own opinion, which very intelligent, right? Because Gemini and Virgo are extremely intelligent signs. But then there's also the duality between what's surrounding your sun and moon. We have Juno, which is harmony, union, commitment on your sun. And then we have another goddess signature, which is Black Moon Lilith, which is independence, sovereignty, and individuality on your moon.
Yeah. Super interesting and very good points. And also, like, yeah, on top of that, so when we move into the karma, right? And I just saw this and I don't know if you saw my face. So your south node's Virgo, right? North node, once again, same nodal axis, but opposite is last reading. So you're here in Ceres on North node. So you're here, ninth house. Wow, ninth house Pisces. You're here to become like me. I'm just joking, but it's like Sag, ninth house Pisces, right? But basically what I'm telling you is that you like, and I was literally expecting this. I wish I would have said, I always do this at like every reading, like where like I have things in my head and I'm like, I always say like, I wish I would have fucking said it out loud because yeah. But like, I was like, I was looking for you to have a Mercury square nodes. And of course you do. So basically, and I'm gonna do something that I only do for very important moments. And this one is very short, Haley. But basically it's very important. I like how this guy writes this out. Even though I could like literally tell you all by myself, but whatever. Um, but basically when you have, actually I'll probably just tell you all this. But Mercury square the nodes essentially. So the north node is in Virgo, right? So, or the south node, excuse me. So the south node represents like karmically where we've been, and you have Black Moon Lilith there too, which, you know, so to me it's like there's a big time potential to fall into the lower energy of Virgo, which can be worrying, which can be you know, this overly self-critical messages that you tell yourself, right? Interjects, self-limiting beliefs, right?
That can come from like perfectionism,
Exactly.
right? That it comes from a place of it's not like you're just mean to yourself for no reason, right? It's like,
no, it's karmic. It's
yeah.
from messages. So basically, so when your south node, so it all makes perfect sense, right? Because your south node is already showing us that there's a tendency to allow the like we were just saying last reading, like every day you can find a reason for something to annoy you, right? Like every day you can find a reason, like
Like get to you,
yeah, some Virgos like are like that. We both have Virgo moms. Like, you know, every day there can be a reason to worry, right? Or to, oh my God, like look like let something. And what that does is that it cuts you off from the oneness that is Pisces, right? So you are trying to move with your ninth house north node through wisdom, through knowledge, through maybe traveling physically or metaphorically. This would be an example of you traveling metaphorically, right? You're trying to expand yourself into that oneness away from that lower potential of Virgo. Now, with the square, this is where it gets very interesting because it double backs up what I was saying. Your Mercury is in the 12th house already, conjunct Chiron. In Gemini, though. And basically, like, there's unresolved material around karmically around the mental life, right? And it's there's lots of you know, potentials. It could be like overly rigid thinking, like lacking like discrimination. You know, it could be something around I like usually what I think of like what when I'm thinking of what it might be, I think it could be allowing your self-limiting beliefs you might have about yourself and what you're able to accomplish, because Mercury conjunct Chiron could, you know, represent Chiron Gemini also, that you growing up like had some issues with you know, especially with the sun square moon, you know, issues growing up that made you maybe not feel as though you were. I get a lot of people with or like just like in my personal practice, a lot of people who have the Gemini Chiron, but you know, made you feel like you weren't as intelligent as you are, right? And basically what I'm telling you is that you know, there can be, yeah, lots of internalized messages, interjects that are very critical, and it can be guilt that's not yours, shame that's not yours, just very internalized energy. Also, it could be like, you know, communication issues. Yeah, go ahead.
One way that I feel like the soul can like heal this, and I think like one of the most cathartic ways to work with this is like throat chakra, like clearings, activations. Like if you want to work with a Reiki healer where you do throat clearing chakra work like once a month, like beautiful. And like journaling it out, like emptying out your mind,
Yeah,
so that you can see like what goes on in your mind. And like I'll just have you know too, like with Mercury conjunct Venus and Chiron too, like you also have a gifted way of like healing with your words. Like it is so a duality, you know. It's like when we're down and we're feeling insecure, it can manifest as not being able to speak your truth because maybe, yeah, you don't feel like smart enough, or like your voice matters that much due to maybe the past, or like deep-seated insecurity, or like fear of like speaking your truth. But truly, I also wanted to say with like the Cancer Venus, like when you speak from your heart, like you will always know what to say. And I feel like that's going to be one of your greatest gifts, because you really have a huge heart for people and you can see things and pick up on things that not everyone else can. So I wanted to mention
yeah,
that.
definitely, yeah. And like everything that is a square, that's this or that, is meant to be overcome. That's the whole point, right? So you gaining awareness is huge. So yeah, like overall, it can just be tons of stuff. It could be like a tendency of lying or being lied to, not trusting the opinions of others. Just like it could have even been like where your understanding of like what was truth, which is literally your north node right here. You see it's in ninth house, which is about you in this lifetime. You're meant to find truth, right? How your idea, does she have Saturn retrograde?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, there definitely could have been some conditioning in past lives that kind of, kept you away from truth, and that kept you away from, it's like people who like you see who are just completely like in the matrix, like who are just completely like believing everything they see on the news, and they're just like, of course that's going to reflect their life, their dharma, and what they think is important. So in this life you're really meant to like spread your wings spiritually and physically and find wisdom and truth.
Yeah, no, South Node in the third house, I also have this in whole sign. And one thing that I've really noticed is like being in my immediate environment, like
You have that. Of course you fucking have the third house. Of course. When you have a ninth house north node, of course you do.
a ninth house North Node, it's like,
Duh.
being in your immediate environment and like enjoying the people that you see every day, like the little things, right? Like your mailman, your hairdresser, like stuff like that. And like really enjoying, like learning and like mastering the energies around you. Like I've definitely felt like traveling and like breaking outside of like what I had learned and what I like felt like I had mastered and what I had known through like learning about different cultures, different philosophies, like has only ever felt super fulfilling, even if it was unknown territory and a little scary. So I definitely feel like, um, I mean, if there's a voice that says like the South Node Virgo, that might be like, oh, well, this isn't practical enough, or like, can I afford it? Or is this like the best way to like do this? It can kind of be like the Pisces being like, you know, feel into it. Like, what do you really want? Like, what do you feel is going to make you happiest, right? Like, what if logic and practicality can't can't always be like the core, right?
Very good point.
Yeah, so I feel like, but you have your north and south nodes at Libra degrees. So there's definitely, I feel like if you're looking for an in between, like that fairness, like making sure you're always being fair to yourself and being like, what's fair for me to do? Right. Like it's pretty fair that I have been stressed out over working and I want to like go on a vacation. Like, it's fair that like I want to allow myself time to just do whatever you want to do that's going to feel freeing for you. Right. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that opened a new door. Like, yeah, so spot on. Like South Node Virgo with the Black Moon Lilith. Like to me, it's, yeah, like I said it, but I like to repeat things that are like somewhat repeat things that are like very important. Like perfectionism is the sickness of the 21st century. Like literally, I always and with the Black Moon Lilith there, there is, with the South Node, there is that potential. So it's like moving into like, in past life wise, it could have very well been the case, yeah, with the third house where you exactly like you didn't really allow yourself to expand. You were very much in the material because Virgo is an earth sign, right? It's way more practical, deals with everyday life, and Pisces is that ethereal kind of like letting go, very spiritual energy, right? Magical energy. So it makes complete sense that you, with the square that I talked about with Mercury, the only thing holding you back is yourself and your own self-limiting beliefs around what you're able to do. And you got to do that exercise where you sit down, even if it takes you weeks and things come up, have it on your phone, have a notepad of just like, what are my self-limiting beliefs? What are the beliefs I have so deep in my core about myself and what I can accomplish and who I can be and all these things, and just see what that does for you.
I'd like to mention another thing too, like with traveling, like, and leaning into philosophy, like esoteric wisdom, history, knowledge of any sorts, like your Mars being at a 0 degree Mars, wherever it is in the chart on an esoteric level, points to where our soul's wanting us to expel the most amount of energy towards. So you have this here, and then you have your North Node, which is our heavily involved in our Dharma. It's our unfamiliar territory. It's like, especially when we have our nodal returns and nodal oppositions, it's a lot like an eclipse season, right? For us, where it's like, okay, karmically check in, where are we at? Like, have we stayed in the South Node? Have we kept ourselves in student mode and in like our environment, or are we ready to graduate and like really teach and share what we've other things, that the things that we've learned, and learn new things, right? But then you also have Ceres here. So I mean, we'll definitely want to go into a different side of Ceres later on in the reading, but I mean, because you have Venus at 0 degrees in Cancer, which is retrograde, which is like pointing towards leaning into your feminine intuition, motherhood. And then we have Ceres on the North Node. Ceres is the mother asteroid. So there's this like new energy around like nurturing yourself, like being kind to yourself, like, and definitely with your Pluto in the 5th house, it's like your inner child, I feel like, needs to come first, you know, like what's going to make Minnie Heather like the happiest, you know, and like definitely for you, like with Ceres is how we best nurture ourselves and other people. And I like to call it like our second moon sign.
Yeah.
And yeah, like traveling, like I can't stress that enough. Like if you ever wanted to book an astrocartography reading and like see what places energetically would really light you up inside and like bring downloads in, like if there's any sort of like ancient civilizations that you feel like you've been a part of and you're drawn to, like I really feel like your soul would love the experience of being able to revisit past life places, but you would be learning it for the first time in this lifetime, you know? So just, it's really, really cool energy that you have going on.
You have to choose between us. Sure.
What
What if we offered that team astrocartography? That'd be crazy.
That would be great.
That'd be weird. I feel like we look at, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, we'll talk about it later. Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. Like with the Mars, like, you know, it adds extra impetus, extra, you know, it is in Pisces, but you know, I was reading about like the 0 degree being kind of like the Fool card.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of just like a lot of trial and error, right?
Yeah, the 0 degree is so funny. It's literally like, you know, when you get a blank piece of paper and like you want to draw and you're like, nah, that's not good yet. Like you kind of want to see something good or like see a ball go through the hoop before you really start diving into something and like committing to something. That's like 0 degree placements, and it's really karmic. So it's like you completed, it's a brand new start. It's a fresh slate. You know, whenever we have fresh slates in life, it like comes after completing something from before. So your soul has completed a consciousness around your heart space. Your soul has completed a consciousness around the way that you move in the world and sex. Your soul has completed a consciousness around your own freedom and your own genius into these new consciousness, which all of your planets that are at 0 degrees are all in feminine energy.
Yeah, they try and exactly the Venus and the Mars.
Yeah, so it's like I really see like you leaning into groundedness, emotions, you really feeling comfortable living from the heart space. There's huge healing around the heart space too. So I feel like throat chakra and like heart chakra activations, like if you ever just wanted to do this and literally breathe in to these spaces, and I feel like you have huge potential to heal other people through exactly that, through your words and your love. Like, and I think that's meant to be liberated. Like any fears about like really showing up as a committed queen, you know, like you have Juno conjunct your sun in this lifetime, and Gemini is all about words. And like, I think it, yeah, like, you know, and able to like heal and really help other people. I've had to work through a lot of my own shadows, and it's so clear to me that you're meant to like have a healing effect on people because you have a 12th house stellium.
Yeah.
And the 12th house, I tell people, I use this analogy, is if all the houses were characters in a play on a stage, the 12th house would be the characters in the wings, where they can see what's happening on stage, but nobody else can see them in the dark. And that's their gift, is they see the pariahs of the world. They see the people who are oppressed. They see the people who are quiet in the corner and they're like, hey, are you okay? Like, or they're the people who really feel uncomfortable with injustice and oppression against people who may not have a voice for themselves, or people who feel like they have to hide who they really are. So yeah, like, and 12th house Mercuries are super imaginative. Like, I wonder what your room looks like. I wonder if you have tattoos. I wonder if like there's art that you create or something like that. Any sort of like ritual with like you're praying, or like anything like that that's like beyond the physical, like not stuff that you can touch, but really like quantum imagination in your dreams probably too. Like I feel like your dream world's very vivid as well, and you could be um yeah, just some of the, like Tim Burton, the people who have 12th house placements are insanely intelligent and creative when it
Lots
comes
of
to things beyond the physical.
yeah, even like politicians, like it's so crazy. Um, you know, lots of politicians have a lot of 12th house. I'm just like, it's because it rules like, behind the scenes. And I think, Gemini 12th house is about being able to put the undescribable into human words, right? And with your Mercury there in Chiron, you might be someone who is, and you asked about this specifically, about your potential as a healer. And I want to tell you that you, my friend, have a mystic rectangle. Check this out. You have this, you see that rectangle with Uranus at 0 degrees, and it's like exact, nearly, it's literally an exact mystic rectangle between the Mars, the Uranus, the Venus, and the moon. And it's just fascinating. Yeah.
This is very rare, and this is actually insane because
Yeah, majorly insane.
it's all the 0 degree placements. So
Yeah.
in the previous lifetime, you unlocked this mystic rectangle in the previous lifetime. You were somebody who
Talk about mystic rectangle, like in general, like besides the fact that it just it creates mystics, right? But like what else would you, because you had a post about it recently. Like what's your kind of main explanation of what it represents?
So anything in blue in the chart is a past life gift. So that's something that we can always rely on. A lot of times we want to activate it. So this, I would say, is a huge activation within your reading to like hear about this. Mystic rectangles are people who in previous lifetimes were some sort of mystic. So you could have been dream interpreter. You could have been somebody who worked with the third eye, the subconscious. You could have been into astrology. You could have been into tarot. You could have done something of that where you trained your third eye enough, and you essentially came into this lifetime with enough intuitive developments that you are naturally enlightened. Now, there's a few points in the birth chart besides a mystic rectangle that can point towards natural enlightenment. Sagittarius placements for sure. If they're connected to galactic center or something like that. But when we have this, true, when we have this natural enlightenment, this allows the soul to almost have a cheat code when they come to Earth, where Earth can be a very dense and dark place, but the mystic rectangle breaks through that for the individual, which is something that is so subconsciously within the native. So I tell people, no matter how you might have taken on more karma than other people because of this gift, right? And I don't want to say more karma, but it's like the challenges that
tougher mission.
Yeah. Like the challenge, like you have a T-square, right? So it's like some of the challenges that you've had could have really tested you, like very, really, really tested you. But I tell people that with the mystic rectangle, there is this innate knowing that everything's going to be okay. Like they can break through the end of death and rebirth, and they know somehow there's something of a higher power. There's whatever you believe in, right? There's something that comes over them. I like to say it's your higher self that comes in and says, you know what, there's more to this. Like I can see through this. I don't know, but I know gnosis, like G and O. And yeah, with the 0-degree placements, I feel like this.
That's very rare.
Yeah, like
because it's like a blank slate of like of this mysticism, you know, and it's like um
can I wrap up one
yeah
quick
yeah
sentence?
finish.
This specifically, I feel like is what's really helping you through the any blocks or challenges that you've had in relationships and with leaning in toward traveling and the esoteric and learning more. Those two are actually very intertwined for you. Like the independent thinker, leader part of you, and clearing and learning through lessons through other people.
Yeah, beautifully said. And like I think, you know, wanting to know about, you know, careers as a healer, right? Well, the thing about also when I think about a mystic rectangle is that, you know, it involves two oppositions. So that adds a little bit of
Yeah.
an activated part, but also some, you know, we have to know what's being at play here. So it's a dominant part of your chart. So obviously, you know, we have the moon trine, you know, Chiron, or excuse me, you know, moon trine Saturn and Uranus. You know, that by itself, especially the Uranus one is like Uranus trine moon is very good for being able to like have like psychic downloads. And this is like another like big show sign in me of how like you have all this power, but whatever thoughts that you have about yourself that might get in the way of this need to be overcome. And the step one is the flashlight of awareness, which is this. It could be this, you know, because you were asking about it, right? And you feel it, and we're saying that like we don't see this, and the fact that it's 0 degrees means that it's like Haley was saying, it's like a blank piece of paper. There's lots of trial and error. There's lots of free will, right? That's like possible. Now, the fact so moon and then Saturn, that you know that you know that's very good for like just being a committed individual emotionally and stuff like that and responsible, all that. Now, then you know you move it forward. You have the Mars in the Uranus. That's someone who is able to kind of act from intuition in like a very good way. Mars, you know, with Saturn, able to, you know, have kind of this real continuity, this real ability to get things done over the long haul, and is a Pisces Mars. It's not an easy Mars to have, right? But the fact that it's you know, it has Saturn in a nice aspect is really helping it in terms of its forward movement. Now, then what gets even crazier is that Mars in Pisces, which is very much like the healer, you know, is trining not only Venus, because we can involve Chiron in this mystic rectangle. I mean, why wouldn't we, right? You know, so you know, it could be a mystic rectangle with, you know, with Venus or with Chiron or with both, you know, like, so with, you know, Mars trying Chiron, you know, that is literally the energy of you having these innate karmic gifts. But Chiron in the 12th house is, there's usually some deep-seated kind of very unconscious fears that need to be understood, and we'll talk more about that later. But just to kind of wrap up like the whole energy of it, the fact that, you know, Chiron's with Mercury, it's through talking and through finding a way to, as you said, like in what you want to do, like get this cosmic information. Like me and Haley, we're getting this cosmic information from this chart where we've never met you, never seen you, any of that, and we're telling you these things, right? So it's about you being able to do that, and in whatever you choose, whatever it might be, numerology, human design, astrology, you know, tarot, being able to really put it into words. And in the final part, you know, like if it's Venus, beautiful. We'll talk about Venus, you know, trying Venus retrograde and all that and the love stuff later. But I really wanted to highlight just that Chiron. but then the moon, and the fact that the moon is part of the mystic rectangle is just the ultimate, because it is, it's just showing moon trine chiron or sextile chiron. It's just showing that this is a part of your mission, and the fact that your moon trines all of the, of these babies, even Neptune, right? I'd count that. It's like, 7 degrees. It's, yeah, it's the moon. So like you have this amazing intuition, and the fact that the moon is part of this mystic rectangle. I hope that like just validates anything, because you're a 12th house sun. You're meant to be of service. You're meant to be working, in something. And a Placidus, which it would be 11th house, and the Venus default. I can't wait till we talk about the Venus in the 12th Placidus retrograde. But yeah, like either way, you're meant to be in this area of life, because regardless of what system you use, this would still be in the 12th, right? Yeah, like the Mercury, Chiron, Venus. So yeah, it's interesting stuff. Very interesting.
I'd also like to say that since your ascendant is in Cancer, the moon is your chart ruler. So your Virgo moon, I mean, the moon is already the energetic signature that we've embodied most over our previous lifetimes. It is really truly who we are. It's a very witchy asteroid, right? But you also have Black Moon Lilith on there. So I would say Lilith, like the moon in general, like, are you Moongirl?
Yeah. Wait, Black Moon Lilith on the moon? That's crazy.
Yeah, like you at heart, I feel like are somebody who wants, like you have a huge heart for sticking up for those who have no voice. Like I feel like you are a voice for the voiceless. That could be like a huge part of your mission here with Chiron, conjunct Mercury, is like having a healing way to empower those who like feel like a pariah, through like the messenger. Like you can really hear what people say, process it. And Gemini, that's the one trait that Gemini has that no other sign has, is being able to actually hear and understand without an ego multiple perspectives, not just the two, but even if there were 11 people in a room, like to not have the ego interfere with that is huge. And I always say that that's like my favorite thing about Geminis for sure. And yeah, with the Virgo, sorry, our kitty cats are
well, Esme should probably help.
With Black Moon Lilith there, yeah. There's also, whenever I see a big Black Moon Lilith signature in the chart, I always tell people that because it's a representation of women, that this could also mean just having a special place in your heart for women and wanting to stand up for women, wanting to like you could also be attracted to women, right? It's always something that's a possibility with Black Moon Lilith like that. But for the most part, I would say that you are very lunar, but I would say the dark side of the moon too is like a really big part, right? Whenever the moon is a new moon, it's actually more powerful than a full moon. And not a lot of people know that. And that's because the moon gets to recharge instead of having to shine her light, right? So there's a lot of inner strength, a lot of determination, a lot of seduction as well, I'd like to say too. Black Moon Lilith is really being in tune with your raw, sexual, untamed energy. And yeah, I mean, Cancer risings too. I mean, your Cancer rising is in the Pluto decan. So you have this natural magnetism. Your ascendant's also at a Cancer degree. Water risings, water signs in general have this magnetism, this water, right? Waves pull you in and suck you in, right? The ocean's very, very mesmerizing. And yeah, it's also just very, very, very intuitive. Like not just the mystic rectangle, but Black Moon Lilith on the moon being your chart ruler, 12th house energy. And I would say with Sarah's conjunct your North Node that, and with Pluto in the 5th house, there could be major transformation around children. You could actually be fated to like nurture people or kind of be like the mom figure, like even if you don't have actual children, like in some sort of community or like two people around you. And it could feel really fulfilling actually to like be seen as somebody who.
And Jupiter in the 11th, like, that helps that out too.
Yeah, like Yeah, planting stuff, planting seeds for success and like your goals and your aspirations and nurturing that and watching it grow so you expand to new heights and new places and new things is a huge, huge, huge um part of, I think, the beauty that, and you're gonna have your Jupiter return. This happens only once every 12 years. So if there's any big purchase that you've been wanting to make, if you've been looking to save money, if you've been wondering when money is going to come into your life, definitely, definitely get ready. Because like I said, billionaires, yeah, billionaires wait for this transit specifically in their life. So definitely take advantage of all the money that comes your way, but also it's an auspicious time to make what you want happen. So
In
vision boards.
perspective too. It's really good for it kind of reset the cycle of you know, your understanding of truth, you know, and of learning, and yeah, it's a really, really good luck time where lots of luck happens. But
That might actually play into the divorce. Like, I don't know if this, like, yeah, there's
yeah,
like,
we'd have to look at, well, you know, she has you know, Aquarius Pluto trining her sun, and it's doing it's also I don't know. But yeah, what I want, like, yeah, so like I think of you as like a spokesperson for the disadvantaged, you know. I think that's like where you can find your niche, because you know, Mercury conjunct Chiron, like a big thing for you is finding your voice, right? It could have been that the parents or like the early childhood, like, you know, really pushed you back. I talked about the whole past life thing. That is literally like, you know, the mission. Like that is the karmic mission. Like that is like literally like getting, like figuring out like your potential is endless, like believing that in a soul level, right? um and then after that, you know, you have to realize, like, you know, you are who you surround yourself with. And people who don't believe, like your north node's in Pisces, right? So you know, you have Jupiter in the 11th, which is great because that's going to give you lots of luck. It's very good for wealth too, but you know, not always, but it is a lot of times good for just like one just big fucking, but mainly it's very, very good for popularity and for friends, but also for having lots of auspicious reasons. Good for wealth because a lot of people have that they have a big, big life purpose, a big, big life mission that might, you know, take later in their life for it to really come to fruition. And you know, been having in areas, you know, very entrepreneurial energy. But what I'm saying is that there is, yeah, so there is a lot of healing that you have to do, and we'll talk about the Venus stuff, but I just wanted to kind of point out, yeah, like the Black Moon Lilith being like on the moon and square the sun, to me, you know, the fact that it's on the moon can definitely speak to, like, and with the South Node there is just double confirmation of, you know, like I said, perfectionism, like, and all these things. And it's just like, you really, really have to dial in on that. And learning self-compassion and having like that really, like the high Virgo is where you're trying to go. And high Virgo is having that routine that hits you on like every level. But what I want to say was this, and it's very, very important. And it's that, you know, with your chart, like the T square Haley mentioned, you know,
Yes, that's a grand cross. I just noticed that.
yeah, I saw it too. It was it was where was it? I don't know. Um, but well, I mean, it's with Vertex though, which isn't, is that the one you're talking about? Because
Yeah, but I'll touch on that. Yeah.
because I was talking about I was talking about the grand square, about the grand trine, because the vertex is an imaginary point, but we'll see it in different, well, basically we can touch on it together essentially, because like basically what we're both seeing the same thing, we're both seeing this, is that we're both seeing sun square moon, which we already talked about, and then sun square Mars, right, which is an aspect that you know, it can definitely make one, you know, irritable. There's definitely like kind of like a need to kind of you know, be balanced, because yeah, it's a very peaceful Mars, but still like things can kind of just like get you, you know, like where the fuck did that come from? And then Mars opposes you know, Chiron, and then you know, the vertex would be here. I just moved I just I'll move all the points back in, but now these are just like the planets besides like the midheaven and ascendant. So the interesting part is that in this T square, right? And Mars opposite Moon, it's similar. It's like to have Mars squaring Sun opposite Moon, it's just showing that like you can get like kicked off, and it can come from a very unconscious place. And that there could be some potential anger issues, and because it's Mars and Pisces, it could be like more passive aggression. And with all that Virgo energy, it could be from like being like overly self-critical, which could lead to being overly critical. But yeah, so the fact, and we'll both talk about this, that it shoots out right on the vertex, right? Vertex was, it was 0 degrees, wasn't it? So it shoots out right at the 6th house vertex in Sag, the T square. And that's the resolution, is the vertex. Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, like the resolution to like, I guess what the energy is kind of this like unconscious anger, right? Like, or like anger / potential for anything else you'd add about like the Mars and, you know, opposite Moon and square Sun. And
You pull up the Grand Cross by any chance?
oops. But yeah, like with the Grand Cross, the vertex, you know, it's not an actual planet, so it's just very interesting to me that these actual planets, like their point of healing is the vertex. To me, that's crazy, and that speaks volumes of how important the vertex is in your chart.
Yeah. So when it comes to a Grand Cross in the chart, right? So your Grand Cross involves Mars, right? Which is anger, but it's also sex, but it's also going after what you want. And then you also have it connected to your Sun, which is the ego, which is our identity, which is our vitality. And then you have your Moon, which is our emotional needs, our emotional world, as well as our intuition. And then you have the vertex, right? And then the vertex is the point of fate, right? So it's a very, very, very calculated point. You can calculate it manually off of the Sun, Moon, and rising, but whatever it is, the sign represents the energy that you're fated to encounter through places, people, and situations. The area of life will be the house. You have it in Sagittarius, the freedom, the liberated sign of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, rising people could activate this for you. Even Venus, Mercury, the nodes. So yeah, if there's anyone who comes to mind with that, I would definitely pay attention to that. Even late Scorpio placements will activate this within you. With that being said, this is very fated energy, and especially since it's in your vertex is in the 6th house of service, of being anchored into reality, and it's also the practice makes perfect house esoterically, right? So when we look at a Grand Cross, the Grand Cross is the make it or break it placement in the chart. These souls that have a Grand Cross experience a lot of challenges early on in life. It's very similar to having a Saturn-based chart. It's very similar to having Capricorn placements, having to grow up from an early age, right? Which could play into some of the things that Jesse was talking about Sun square Moon. Having to be your own leader, having to make a way out of no way, having to face some of your darkest fears, having to go through trials and tribulations through your circumstances, maybe not having freedom, right? Maybe not having the ability to speak your truth, to stay in your immediate environment. I would definitely say that making it through a Grand Cross, especially I would say at this point of your life and with your Jupiter return coming up, and just what you're going through right now with, you know, the new like change in your own status, right? Going from in a relationship to single, stepping up, it seems very, very karmic to me for you to experience new liberation, new freedom. And I think that this is going to make you fearless individual, not afraid of anything. And your inner child with the Pluto in the 5th house in Scorpio, 100% you stepping into new power and you breaking free of anything that was. It's definitely a cycle that is done. and Jupiter is going to come around. There's going to be new spiritual revelations. There's going to be new themes of expanding upon your own self-worth. And yeah, I really feel like it's going to be a great time. And this Grand Cross really points to you being somebody who, with all the cardinal energy, the cardinal energy is the number one modality in your chart. It's the all where all the angles are in your chart. Your career, you're meant to approach life of going after what you want. Your ascendant, you're meant to be leading in a direction in life of going what you want. You come from a long line of people who do try to strive to go for what they want, and you're attracted to people who go after what you want. And you have Saturn in its home sign of Capricorn. You're a powerhouse. And with Neptune in Capricorn, you have the ability to have one foot on solid ground and one foot to go after your monetary dreams. So I think this is a big window of opportunity for you to step into power. And honestly, I think this Grand Cross is a big part of it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, either way you cook it, like the vertex in your chart, it's like this, it goes so fucking fast. Like literally your vertex can change. Like if your birth time's like off, like by, I don't know, like literally like 10, 15 minutes, like your vertex can be so different, So it really requires like a complete accurate birth time, right? And so in my, from my perspective, which makes it's the same thing, it doesn't really make a difference, right? It's like well, I think it makes it even more you can call it a grand cross, or you could call it a T squared that has the resolution point as a vertex. To me, like it's the same thing, right? Because like the vertex isn't a planet, it's an imaginary point, right? So it's not luminary, so it doesn't like receive or push out light. But still it doesn't change anything about like just the like mega importance of Sagittarius sixth house, and how being of service and learning, which now like my whole thing is about like making connections, right? So it's like I look at your vertex in Sag and I connect it to your Pisces North Node in the ninth. Literally vertex Sagittarius, North Node in the house of Sagittarius, for a second. And it's the Virgo house. That's it. It's the opposite sign of Pisces, but basically, you are 1,000% here to expand. It's just double confirmation, that the way for you, like, oh, I got it. There's probably things that kind of tick you off, like we all like little things like tick you off, and you have these reactions. But they truly do come from a place of, from like, like you don't just get angry because, whatever, right? Like there's things deep inside. So the resolution, the fact that like, if I like, even if you look at it like a T square shooting out at the vertex, it's just phenomenal. I've never seen it in my life, right? I never have seen like a T square shootout at the vertex or a grand cross, either way you cut it, right? It's just crazy. So yeah, just sixth house Sag, just double confirmation. Traveling would be so massive for you. And just having that like really, really solid, like day by day, like in the high energy of Virgo, where you're leaning into the physical, mental health, mental health, spiritual health, energetic protection, diet, all that stuff, on and on and on, working out, all that stuff. And yeah, like the fifth house Pluto's was talking about, like, people with fifth house Pluto's, they come into this lifetime with like a deep feeling that like they have this very massive creative potential, they are like, there's like a very deep creative purpose for this lifetime in particular. And yeah, so I just find that very interesting. And
Can you switch it to Placidus really quickly? If you're done, I don't want to block off the flow if you had something more to say.
Yeah,
I just
sure.
wanted to go off the creative purpose.
Yeah, I'm down to switch it. But yeah, like yeah, so overall, like, that's just very interesting. And we're gonna check out Placidus, but I just want to see yeah, so in Placidus, all this will change. But we can still kind of talk about it from the same perspective.
Do you mind switching it to Placidus and typing in 2 asteroids?
Which two?
Industria and talent.
I don't know if I have talent, but I definitely have industrial. Oops. Is it asteroid?
Yeah. The same numbers work on astro.com for this or no?
No.
Okay. And yeah. I could look it up on my system too if you can't find
Talent and what was the other one?
industry.
I found industrial really easily. Is it in here? This is my list of yours already. Why do I have Machiavelli in yours? No one's even talked about that besides me. DNA is one of yours. Is Lucia one of yours? No, no chance. What the fuck are all these? Hoppy? Hopi. That's one of yours, right? Okay.
I can look it. I could type it.
It does have the numbers, but you can't look it up. Search the numbers. Oh, you can just do it on your computer. But yeah, like while she's typing all that stuff in, you know, like the love energy in your life is fascinating. And you know, I like regardless of what you use, you know, I would have talked about your Venus being in a 12th house in retrograde, and Venus retrograde in Cancer 0 degrees. It's like, you know, there's so much karma in your love life, right? So much fate. It's very fated. What happens in that area, and the fact that it's opposing Saturn and Uranus, like exactly opposing Uranus, right? As part of the mystic rectangle of the oppositions, which are Moon Mars and Venus Uranus. But Venus opposite Uranus people, they need tons of space in relationships. So this would create a conflict because usually Venus in Cancer people are not like that. They like closeness and all that, right? And then Venus opposite Saturn, you know, can create issues with vulnerability and issues with self-love and issues with feeling like you deserve that person. So we'll talk more about that later, but go in.
So I wanted to tap into a little bit within your career because you have so much cardinal energy, and cardinal energy is there's 3 modalities in astrology. So there's cardinal energy, and that's initiative energy, go-getter energy, making things happen. And then there's fixed energy, which is fixated and constant. And then there's mutable energy, which is fluid and dynamic. So having cardinal energy as a major point in the chart, because we have talked about you just really being somebody who seems like is really meant to be of service. You're meant to expand in a lot of ways. You're meant to like help people and like be a healer. And that's something that you intuitively talked about. You have the mystic rectangle in your chart, which represents being a past life mystic. I typed in a couple of career asteroids and money asteroids for you. And I think this answers the first question about you being a healer. So one that one that I have when I switch the house system to Placidus, which your Mars then moves from the 9th house of travel and expansion, philosophy and esoteric knowledge to the 8th house of divination, astrology, human design, tarot, the strange, the dark, the mysterious, right?
Yeah, 3-birth transformation.
That as well. You know, this is part of your mystic rectangle. And then it also taps into the 6th house of service. It then hits the 2nd house of finances into that 12th house of spirituality. So these are huge, right? And looking at your Mars in Pisces, that it gives you the ability to kind of move through life in a very Piscean way, interacting with the world and taking in everything. You have Industria, which is the asteroid that I use that shows what industry could work best for you in the sign of Aquarius. So you could be in a industry that is
astrologers. Aquarius rules astrology.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be something that's very ahead of its time. Technology. You could invent new methodologies or like a new way of doing something, or with the eighth house too, it can be one of these. So it could be something like more of an occult field. You have it conjunct your third eye in Pallas Athena.
And her Uranus is 0 degrees ruling Aquarius.
There you go. Your Uranus and your Saturn and your Neptune all in Capricorn should not go unmentioned, because Capricorn energy is the provider. It's the entrepreneur, it's the businessman, it's the father. And that's in your sixth house of work, right? So there's that. And then I looked up your Fortuna asteroid, which shows what area of life and where we're meant to receive the most amount of good fortune. And this is at 29 degrees. So you have karmic good fortune coming your way.
What sign?
It's in Virgo. So with being the messenger. Yeah, in the third house of communication. So I wouldn't be surprised if you wrote something, if you wrote something or like had a social media platform with Jupiter in the 11th house or something like that, where you shared information, or you talked to people, or if you, something of that nature. And then I would also say with your abundance asteroid, the abundantia asteroid is what area of life and where we're meant to receive the most amount of abundance. And this is conjunct your Jupiter. So it's meant to be very monetary for you, your abundance, right?
Yeah, in Taurus too, the sign of money.
The sign of money. So, but it's also in the 11th house of hopes and wishes. So I think that manifestation.
I just thought the word right as you said it. I swear on God, on everything that I was literally.
At some point when we're doing readings, we basically have the same brain. But or third eye.
That was really weird. Like I'm not just saying that. Like it just was like.
I believe you. Yeah, like there's so many different forms of manifestation. It's making a trine to your Neptune in Capricorn. The greatest thing about Neptune in Capricorn generation is the fact that we are entrepreneurs. We have the ability to, or at least make your dreams come true. So, it could even be that you're meant to be a boss under an umbrella company, or you could even work as like a hairdresser where you work for a salon, but you have your own clients, or a real estate agent.
Aries midheaven likes that more too.
Yeah, where there's like sort of this umbrella of comfort, but then you're not like running the business on your own. But definitely leadership, I feel like, is not only seen with the Grand Cross, but it's seen with all the cardinal energy. And your talent asteroid is also in the 11th house of manifestation, hopes and dreams. It's also conjunct your Jupiter. So you may very well be called to be a teacher in some way, shape, or form, leading others, or again, with enterprise is that's the last asteroid I typed in that I'll talk about before moving on to the love portion of the reading. But enterprise asteroid is the entrepreneurship asteroid. So the enterprise asteroid shows, and if it's conjunct something, it can show entrepreneurship. So we have this conjunct, it's a far conjunction, but I would still count it. It is conjunct your Mercury, right? But it's still in the sign of Gemini, which points to gifts with writing, gifts with seeing multiple perspectives, gifts with being the messenger. So really, this could be with music. This could be with, I don't know if you want to be a counselor. This could be just manifesting your desires through a 9-to-5 where you're a boss or something like that. Whatever you prefer, right? But definitely really, really powerful energies in terms of options for you with what you could do in terms of healing or being a healer, so.
Yeah, 100%. And like, even like, yeah, like just like the fact that you have, like Mercury in Gemini, which is like, in dignity, it's like the, very good for intelligence in the 12th house, would make you very capable of translating the cosmic language into, terms that humans can understand. Like there's some people who try to work like this and maybe they understand it, but they're not able to communicate it. It's like you're getting this information, all these symbols, how do you put it into human words? And that's why Gemini 12th house is so cool. But the fact that you have it conjunct Chiron, another thing about Chiron represents our latent talents, right? Like what we have to discover through our healing. That's Chiron. So the fact that it's Mercury, you mentioned writing, and you have anything? No. I was just checking, like wondering if you had your Pluto on 19 Scorpio. It's 10. But basically, like, yeah, like you could literally be someone who, through your writing or through your talking, has a very healing effect on other people. I think we already said that, but you add Venus in there, right? And it's in the 12th house, which is the collective unconscious and spirituality. So we're not. I think even if you didn't say that, we would still be talking about a career with your North Node in Pisces conjunct Ceres, right? Like I think we would still be mentioning it. Do you think? Do you think? I mean, there's no way we wouldn't bring it up. There's just too much with the mystic rectangle. So yeah, it's interesting.
So let's check in. I want to see what we've covered and what
love. We had to talk love, the Venus retrograde.
Of course. I think one thing more that I'll just touch on before going into that is your Vesta, right? So Vesta, we've talked about the other three major asteroids, right? Out of the four, we talked about Vesta, which is or we talked about Ceres, which is number 1. We talked about Pallas Athena, which is number 2. We talked about
question. Ceres, you always talk about it as like the second moon in Pisces, like what, because like I've met, I can think of people like with Ceres and Pisces that I've met and talked to, and it really, like, especially with her moon in Virgo, like in the opposite sign, like it always seemed to manifest like just like a deep compassion and like a need for that kind of compassion in their life to feel nurtured. Like how would you speak on that? Like, is that it, or is there more to it?
That's a good question. I think you covered it basically. I mean, Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which is the higher octave of Venus. And if Venus is the heart space and love, then we now take that up a higher octave into a different emanation of unconditional love. So I feel like as a mother, you would be very unconditionally loving, or whenever you show nurturing to other people, it's definitely coming from a form of non-judgment, understanding that life happens and that you're very unconditionally loving towards other people. And it can definitely point towards you supplying unconditional love to yourself. And it can also represent that might be the way that you feel most nurtured too, is being actively listened to and having deep empathy given to you, and letting people tell you that life happens. And especially since your Ceres is in the 9th house, like allowing writing any changes that you have with expansion, like people who really support that for you could be super like an ultimate form of caring. So
another question, and I know it's not an opposition exact, but like when you start telling me about like Ceres being like the kind of like a mini moon, I thought about like, doesn't it make sense to kind of like think of like what's the relationship between Ceres and the moon, right? Do you think about that? Because like I have the opposition, and I'm just like, I'm curious if Virgo moon, Ceres, and Pisces, that's an opposite. I mean, by sign. Like, yeah, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so the moon controls the ocean's tides, right? So the moon loves being a water sign, and the moon pulls us, right? So we're a huge percentage water. We live on a planet with huge percentage water. So that is the kind of the role of the moon. And then you have Ceres, which Ceres in mythology, she's the goddess of harvest. She's the goddess of agriculture. So to me, the relationship between the moon and Ceres is we need one with the other to really complete ourselves in terms of what we need fuel wise to grow. So I would say through Virgo, which is emotional needs, would be grounding, feeling heard, feeling listened to, cathartically releasing your emotions through writing, cathartically releasing your emotions through music, cathartically releasing your emotions through speaking your truth, right? Which is part of like the throat chakra stuff, will eventually lead to you being able to give and receive unconditional love, complete understanding, believing, right? Believing in people, believing in life, believing in whatever you choose to believe in, which will then create this all encompassing, really deep satisfaction towards feeling like with the ninth house north node that you're
Good
allowed to
point.
grow, but then with like that comfort of the south node third house where you now know what's true for you and like you can appreciate all that you've learned and what's still to come.
Oh, beautiful.
Thanks for asking. That
Yeah.
was a good
No, I
question.
mean,
Like
I thought about that before. I'm like, you know, because like, yeah, I see I see the opposition a lot. I don't understand it, but I see sun opposite or moon opposite series. So your fourth asteroid was, which one was it?
oh,
Vesta?
Vesta. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on Vesta, just finishing up the four major asteroids. Because I mentioned your Pallas Athena being the third house, your third eye being really connected to the industry that you work in. Like you're very strategic by nature.
Yeah.
And that's where your power is. But then with Ceres, obviously we just talked about it. And then Juno, we touched on the very beginning, but Vesta is what area of life our soul deems most sacred. And this for you is 100% like your own self-worth and like accepting yourself for who you are in that very moment. And yeah, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit and definitely expressing your passion. Like you, if you're like sexually very passionate, which I feel like with Moon conjunct Lilith, there's pure raw passion and intensity there. Like, because Lilith, everyone has a Lilith asteroid, and Lilith does represent our raw, untamed sexual nature. It's the dark feminine energy that is so alluring and so captivating and it just encompasses the wild feminine, right? So I definitely feel like with Vesta in Leo, this is the energy that your soul deems so sacred and really like the sacred dimension of your own sexuality, right? Which sexuality is really close to like our spirit. So like to keep our spirit alive, we want to not only be able to express ourselves sexually, but express ourselves creatively. So definitely delving into your talents, right? Which you had talent in Taurus, which Taurus represents art, music, like it rules over the throat chakra, right? So any sort of like singing, any sort of like artistic talents I see are gonna make you really feel like, yo, like I'm pretty legit. Like I'm pretty cool. Like I have talents. Like Leo is one of the most talented signs. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, just like yeah, I would just say that like with finishing up the four major asteroids and then we delved into the north and south nodes a lot in like that karmic journey. We talked about your all of your 0-degree placements. We talked about your major chart shapes.
Joker, or not Joker. What's it called? The full card. Yeah.
Yeah, the full energy, right? We delved into your Capricorn stellium. We delved into the Pluto in the fifth house and the transformation of Heather's inner child and your creative powers. And we delved into your Sun conjunct Juno. We delved into your 12th house and your Chiron. We delved into your Moon conjunct Lilith and your huge Lilith signature. We also delved into your 8th house and all of your career asteroids. We delved into you being a healer and different options for that. So I would say, basically, I would say the only things that are left would be some of the love stuff. And that might be the answer to the second question about,
1000%.
yeah, do you feel like that's a good place to
Yeah,
leave it?
I mean, like I have to do a little scan, but yeah, I think we talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, we covered, yeah. By the way, she has Mintanka close to Mercury, 2 degrees away.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Is
So
that close enough? Because it's 24.06 and 22.14, so it's 2 degrees.
This makes you a Mintonkan starseed. All that a starseed is it means that you have origins from different planets or star systems. So in previous lifetimes, Earth was not your only residence. You also experienced a Mintonkan timeline, which Mintonka is the sign of being an Orion starseed. So when you see the Orion's belt, it is the third star to the right. It is flickering blue. It is an all water planet where unconditional love and 5D frequency was it was a paradise on earth. It was a paradise of a planet, right? And so a lot of Mintonkin star seeds are unconditionally loving by nature. They are softies. They have unconditional love. So I guess that's a really good segue. It's like, definitely don't settle in love for anything that you feel like is not that unconditional love, because I mean, you have Juno on your sun. I'm also Mintonkin.
You're a lover.
You got Juno on your sun. So, and you have like Venus in Cancer, which is, it's absolutely beautiful.
Retrograde too, which is like, I think 6% or 8% of the population. I forget.
Oh, wow.
Very rare. Very, very rare.
Now, do you want to talk about the Venus in retrograde? And
yeah, like I'm gonna just looking real quick to see if there's anything I haven't seen. I'm just looking for the blah blah blahs. Here's one. I just want to see that. Okay, so you have the asteroid karma. Is that one of yours? Conjunct moon, exact degree. Within 0.06. And then the moon is with Black Moon, and it's in the same sign as the South Node.
Yeah. I mean, you could, I saw, okay, with like North Node conjunct Ceres and Pluto in the 5th house, I think if your journey with motherhood, whether it's your own mother, your grandmother, or your future children, is the maternal line is very, very, very karmic. That is basically what that's pointing to. But also our moon represents us when we're a child, and you have Pluto in your 5th house. So you're really meant to kind of like age backwards in a way where you're leading into more of being a child, and having a child could actually bring that out of you more.
Inner child work is so important for sure.
And a lot of us have to do it. Like all of us should do it, right? But it's like, especially if you grew up in the United States, right, where like it's like we're working or living to work, right, and having.
She's from Phoenix. I love Phoenix, by the way. I don't know if you still live there. My dad moved there for the one.
No.
Life story, 20 minutes later, am I talking about? No. Go ahead.
Yeah. With Power of Fortune in the 4th house, I see you gaining a lot of prosperity within your own family life. Like you're meant to have harmony in your family life. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Power of Fortune also, like I think of Power of Fortune, 4th house, Libra. Yeah, like for me, Power of Fortune is really also about like it's a random point, right? It's done by different calculation of like the sun, moon, and ascendant, right? Based on whether it's a day or night chart. I don't know, nor do I care about like how it's calculated, whether it's sun plus moon minus ascendant on like a 360-degree scale. I don't care. I don't like, I mean, I could look it up in 2 seconds, but the point is it lands somewhere random and it represents kind of your flow state. As a astrologer once told me, a very old astrologer once told me, it's like your flow state. And that kind of stuck with me. And I think of it as, where you can find lots of joy. There's lots of different ways to look at it, but it's a very, very good spot, basically. So to have it in Libra and in the 4th, I think Power of Fortune in the 4th is like you're at your best, you're feeling in your flow, your things are good when you have kind of that spiritual relationship with yourself, but you're still like your relationship life has a level of balance to it where you're not allowing yourself to overly obsess, which can be something very, very common with Venus retrograde, right, in the 12th. And yeah, where things are just working out in a kind of chill way in that area of life, but then you also still have that relationship with yourself. But yeah, so that's kind of how I see that. But yeah, so should we talk relationship stuff? Because I think like regardless of the house placements, it's just different ways of saying what would end up being the same thing. You still have the 12th house, and the 11th house just gets a little bit more, it gets bigger in Placidus, right? Where
Just pointing back to the manifestation abilities and the good fortune that you have. Because honestly,
yeah.
you have a very good karma house or a good karma chart with the 5th and the 11th house. The 5th manifests as you feeling personal pleasure, especially with Pluto. This is going to come later in life, the more that you own your power. And then the 11th house is a good karma house because that is your hopes and dreams and being able to connect with humanity and feeling like the universe is networking you with the right people and co-creating with you, like really feeling like the universe has your back. So you're going to feel that too with the Jupiter return coming up. And I definitely feel like when Jupiter is done being in Taurus.
What is it right now? It's probably what, like 1 Taurus, 2 Taurus, 3 Taurus?
Yeah, so your Jupiter return has already started. But it's going to be retrograding back and forth all the way until 2025. So, yeah. So in 2025, when Jupiter goes over your Juno / Sun, I feel like that's when you could possibly meet your next very important person, a soul contractor, somebody that you will enter a long-term commitment with or like a partnership with. Even if it's just meaning and it doesn't happen right away, that person could very well enter your life.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say maybe she's with someone, but like no, she's literally just got divorced. Oopsie.
But yeah, like I mean, with Venus in retrograde, I feel like what's interesting is that when we switch the house systems, you have Sun conjunct Juno in the 12th, which can definitely represent with also Uranus in the 7th and Venus in retrograde. Again, kind of that timeline of like going through some sort of like karmic storyline that wanted to be redone, whether that's you guys doing it again, being like, hey, in the last life, maybe we could change a couple of things. And in this life, perhaps you did. I feel like a divorce, and intuitively, Jesse said in the very beginning, he's like, I just want to say that I'm proud of you, which I feel like that's very, very intuitively on point because I feel like you went through a cycle and that
hard.
chapter, yeah.
Feels like it was hard because the 12th house runs deep, like it's like very karmic relationships.
Yeah, and the eclipse season, right? So we had the South Node in Scorpio, like that's very intense energy, that's transformation that's happened. So I do feel like this big shift for you in terms of 2025, 2026, when the node I feel like will enter Pisces, the North Node will enter Pisces, you'll have your nodal return. So I feel like there's some protective energy happening with Jupiter right now, where Jupiter's coming in as kind of this like safe haven kind of placement and gonna bless you with some of your hopes and dreams coming true, some monetary assistance. And then I do think in 2025, there could be this new partner, this new long-term connection, this soul contract, this like new energy that's going to come in, or maybe it's somebody that you've already met that comes in again, all depending on your circumstance. And then I do believe when the node switches to Pisces in 2026, 2025, around there is when there's going to be this karmic check-in. And I feel like you will expand more than you ever have. I think it's really great. I think you've liberated a lot out of your 12th house. I think that you've healed the heart space a lot already. And this was all so that you could also have new experiences around your heart space. Your soul is sovereign and you do want to honor yourself at the end of the day. So I feel like it's really beautiful, the things that I see in terms of what has happened in your love life and the things that will continue to happen in your love life.
Yeah, definitely. And it's very interesting, like with like everything that's been said, like with the whole chart, right? And okay. So, like you're like one thing you have to really watch out for is energy vampires. I use that term kind of loosely, but like just people who with the Venus opposite Neptune, you got to watch out for like scammers and just people who come in and present all well and all that, but like it's really about like discernment, right? Like how and is it with your Virgo energy, you have that naturally, right? It's your moon, it's your south node. So it's quite interesting to me to have Venus opposite Neptune, but then to have like this Virgo south node. But then Venus also, conjunct Chiron, right? Like that speaks even more to you being a healer. But the healing, begins from, Venus is literally it's a great representation, Venus, of kind of how like you can only love someone. Love is an energy, and you can only love someone as much as you love yourself, right? And basically,
Can I say something about
yeah, but yeah,
that?
go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. No, you want to go
Uh,
more?
well,
I was
uh,
just gonna say like something.
just say it.
So one of my favorite quotes is from a movie called Perks of Being a Wallflower. And it says like we accept the love we think we deserve.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we accept the love that we think we deserve. So yeah, like like it's a great metaphor for today's world where people try to create God out of their partners. And I think that in this circumstance, in this chart, there's potential for that. But with Venus conjunct Chiron, the great metaphor is that you have to love yourself, right? Love is an energy, as I said. So when you're able to do that, that's when you're able to really activate all those latent talents of the healer and whatnot, right? And then the oppositions with Neptune, the oppositions with the exact one with Uranus and Saturn, like yeah, that can create issues. And the one with Uranus can definitely make someone who goes back and forth between wanting that kind of more you know I don't want to call it clingy because that's like a negative type of word, but very close kind of Cancerian relationship. I didn't look at you because you're Cancer, but yeah, that very like close Cancerian relationship. But then Uranus, where like there could be this kind of like wanting really lots of closeness, but then wanting like lots of space, and kind of going back and forth between the two. And with Saturn though, it can just, and your past Saturn returning, of course. I swear, like so many people that I do readings for like charts I see are like 88 or 87 these days. It's crazy. But overall, it is like Venus opposite Saturn can be like a tough one about, in respect to here's an Instagram story, in respect to finding self-love, and to feel like you are lovable, to feel like you deserve love, to feel like you um fully are okay. And then you add Neptune, which can add all kinds of disillusionment, and then the retrograde karmically. I've seen it so many fucking times as people who might just like sometimes they will judge their life, like how good their life is, based on their relationship status and all that. And they really, a lot of times, it's an energy where like the Venus was either overused or underused in a past life. And I think that it's just important, but to understand that karmically you have to really go within and find that self-love, which will unlock all the healing Chiron abilities. It could unlock some abilities you didn't even know you have. Like and then with the Mercury there, everything's connected. So that's kind of like what I'm seeing, like with the love stuff, is that there's a deep need to kind of go within and to sort through how self-love, self-compassion, what you really value, what you really feel that you want. And with the moon in Virgo, and North Node of Pisces, you need someone who's not going to push you away from your Piscean North Node goal and learning. Mm-hmm. Could be someone like that you meet traveling, I don't know, or that like is a travel buddy or something like that. And then also the moon in Virgo needs someone consistent, right? They need that. They can't just be with a flimsy, like, here one day, gone the other type person, right? So, it's just very important to know that. And yeah.
So one thing that I kind of see is with Vesta in Leo, which Leo is the heart space, you have Venus, which is the heart space at 0 degrees. You have North Node heading towards Pisces, which is unconditional love. And you have Pluto in the 5th house, which the 5th house really does talk about that inner child. Like I see, like in the 7th house in relationships, like the love for your inner child, new start with like, and that's a new like journey with your heart space. Like I feel like the love that you're meant to experience goes far beyond just your partner. I feel like it's your inner child / your children. Like you're meant to experience love in a few different ways. I kind of feel like, what do you think?
1000%. Yeah. Pluto 5th house. Like, and also yeah, like, I think it's interesting that because in classes, the sun, it doesn't tell us the degrees of the ascendant, does it? Yeah, so you can kind of see, but yeah, Neptune's
I think it's a 16 degrees.
Yeah,
I saw it on
16. Okay, yeah, so Neptune's the closest one. So yeah, I mean, like Neptune, like on the descendant, it can definitely create kind of like like there's a big need to be realistic, right, when it comes to matters of the heart, but that's where being a Virgo moon can come in handy. And 7th house ruled by Saturn, it's someone who wants commitment. So I just imagine there being like kind of like a balance between like fun, right? And Saturn's also there, between like fun and kind of like Capricorn, like fun, like because Juno is in Gemini, you're a Gemini,
liking somebody who's mentally stimulating. And
yeah, like you need that and the adventure partner, and then like in the whole sun, your Mars fell into the ninth, but then also like there's that serious factor, and
Virgo, somebody who can hold it down.
Yeah, and then I feel like the most important, like, because it's like, okay, I'm gonna make the assumption that you're heterosexual, but like I don't, like, no one knows. You obviously you are. God, I'm like forgetting that you just had a divorce. But like basically, it's hard to find men in today's world who are spiritual, and straight. Like it doesn't really exist much. So like, like what I like to say is like it's sometimes not as much about like finding a guy who's meditating every day and doing astrology and blah blah, but more so someone who is accepting and who's not judging and who might even be a little bit curious and open and maybe just hasn't been presented,
and that inspires you.
Yeah, exactly. Like they don't have to be spiritual, that you don't have to be like that person, but the worst thing could be someone that pushes you away from that North Node in Pisces, and I just got like a feeling of like me, I just like felt like, I don't know what if it's a download or whatever. I don't know.
I feel it too, kind of.
Is it okay? Was it about like her now ex-husband like being like really like kind of anti that North Node? That's what I was thinking.
I was actually pulling in that I think her next person might have like Pisces placements, or like really be like actually like spiritual or like well traveled or like philosophical or something like that.
It's interesting. Well, we're both thinking about like kind of opposite ends.
The same thing.
Yeah, opposite ends of the same dime, as they say, or as I just made it up. But yeah, so like yeah, I mean North Node is ruled by Neptune, which is on the descendant. So once again, like very karmic relationships that are meant to to still be spiritual, in a sense that you have that connection that doesn't push you away. And just last thing I'll say is a way that like a connection would push you away would be if the person was like really against you studying something like astrology, or just like learning, watching tarot videos, or
just didn't let you expand.
Yeah, like judged you, like kind of comes at you. And the good thing would be like, even if it's a regular regular in the sense of like not regular spiritually, in the sense of like not like a big spiritual person, but curious, and then like that's what's important, because like Pisces North Node, like being pulled back towards Virgo could feel like too much material world, and that I think is what you don't want.
or somebody who is self-critical of themselves and therefore they're judgy, or somebody who is anxious and like second guesses themselves, or like wants to stay in their immediate environment, or just like
Yes.
is like fickle and just like not somebody who's
such a good point. Such a good point. So someone who does like the low Virgo stuff.
Yeah.
Like who does like the self, who's like, yeah, does the self-critical. Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Let's switch back this whole sign and then just see that if anything pops out. And then I feel like we covered. How long have we been going? 142. That's it. Yeah, I thought we actually. Okay, I just want to like look at the okay, I covered all those. So yeah, once again, you have amazing moon aspects are so good for intuitive powers. Like the fact that it trines Neptune, just very, very high intuition and very sensitive to other people's feelings. So you might need to, you have like a time alone, right? Like with the 12th house sun and whole sign, it could be very important. And, the moon and Saturn, I already talked about that. Like just like, it gives you like a lot of like responsibility, and emotional kind of responsibility. And, yeah. Yep. I talked about that, or we talked about that. I'm so used to saying the sort of second reading with Haley that like it's gonna take me a while before I say we. No, nonsense. Okay, so Mercury and Venus, basically that's a really beautiful aspect. Because when you have that,
speaking from the heart space, I mentioned that.
You did? Okay.
Having a beautiful way with words.
Oh, and I just saw that the midpoint of Venus and Mercury is Chiron.
No, that's what I was talking about in the beginning. It's like
you saw the
when you speak from your heart, you're always going to know what to say. You have a healing way with words. I wouldn't be surprised if you heal other people with your words. This is like healing up the heart space and a brand new slate at that, with Venus being at 0 degrees Cancer.
No, I know. Like that's, and it's beautiful. It's like yeah, like that's a very obvious theme. But like this is even further confirmation, because of midpoint astrology, it's like, so there's you have 0 like it's 0 in 24 for Mercury, 24, 0 for Venus, right? Right in between at 27 is Chiron. So it's the energy of the Venus and the Mercury come together into Chiron to make the Chiron even more powerful, and a place where you can speak and where you can love. And it's just another indication of you being a great healer. Talk about the oppositions. Weird. So yeah, like, and then like the last, I guess the last two aspects that weren't covered, just the fact that Mercury also opposes only really these two. And
that's interesting. Like Mercury opposing Uranus is like you merging measurable intelligence with genius invention.
Yeah. And it can, and it 1,000. Okay, so many times this has happened where I like, and I didn't do, I already knew that your Chiron is in Gemini, but like there's been so many times where I've been doing like personal readings like this, but where it's just me, and I'm literally I'm going through it. I'm telling the person, I see that they have like these different aspects. Maybe it's Mercury retrograde, something with Mercury opposite or square, Uranus. And I'm like, okay, let me guess. You're going to have Chiron and Gemini. I swear I haven't looked. I never look, and I'm right nearly all the time. And there's a reason for it, right? Because having Mercury opposite Uranus, it means that you basically had probably ideas that were ahead of your time when you were younger, right? And with Saturn being opposed, also, it's just very difficult, right? And you probably doubted your own cognitive process and doubted the potential that you could be smart, but your ideas were just really ahead of your time. So that's very, very common, and it's this healing journey around your own intelligence in finding your own voice. So I just want to add that in there. And then you being a Gemini makes perfect sense. The sign of the voice. So I don't know. Anything?
I mean, I just think that's like one of your biggest gifts is your voice, your ability to write, your intelligence. You came into life. It's partially like gifts that you can develop, but it's also like you came like that. You know, you make yourself like along your journey here to be even more of a expansive philosophical person, like wisdom oriented, but you have a lot of power in your own intelligence and like creativity too. There's like a genius aspect to this.
100%.
Yeah, so
that is literally what Uranus, Mercury is. It is genius. It's genius energy. And with the fact that, yeah, it's just like they like your parents, like your school, they probably just didn't even recognize it. And a lot of people, like when something goes against the status quo, you know, and kids, you know, more wise than, you know, than the adults or whatever, has ideas that are better. Like they just think that something's wrong, you know, something's wrong with the kid. Put him or her on this or that, you know, and that's just, it's so sad. I mean, it happens more in America, but yeah. So let me do one quick thing and then I think we can wrap up. I probably have already seen everything, but I just want to put it back on the whole sun because I just want to make sure that there's nothing that was missed. But I'm pretty sure there's nothing that was missed. Okay. So yeah, this. Okay. Yeah, Venus retrograde brings lots of past life lovers, of course. Talk about that. Saturn seventh house, you know, like don't get married before the Saturn. Yeah. That literally is like a showing thing. Saturn seventh house, like you get married before the Saturn return. A lot of times there's divorces. So that is, I'm not laughing. I'm just saying that's like what happened. But a lot of times it's the real love of the life comes after that Saturn return. And yep. All right. And then, yeah, 11th house Jupiter in Taurus, we talked about, like, just really good for money, really good for abundance. And yeah,
good luck with your return.
Yeah, enjoy that. So thank you so much. Or anything else you want to add to Haley, looking at the chart?
No, I feel good. I feel like we covered everything kind of on a textbook level, but also on like an esoteric level. Of course, Jesse went into all the aspects too, and kind of like the karmic story. But yeah, I just good luck with you and your journey. Enjoy the Jupiter return. And again, I do feel like the next few years are really, really important in your life. And just thank you for supporting us again. We appreciate you so much. And if you have any questions about anything, you can shoot anything about anything that I said or anything that Jesse said, feel free to shoot him an email and we will answer your questions. So
thank you so much. We still have one more thing to do if we have energy. Well, I have energy, but if Haley has energy, IG Live. So you booked up a lot last second. So I hope that all these messages find you perfectly. You were the last person that will get this, even though Haley will be back in 2 months. But still, who knows if we'll offer, you know, you did it. So thank you so much. And
take care. Take it easy, Heather. Thanks
yeah.
again.
Ciao. Bye-bye.